Okay, so thank you, Russ, very much for that. I now remember when I was introducing you, what I wanted to say, that I remembered that GE also makes airplanes, right? Or the engines for the engines for the airplanes, yeah. The one thing I want to maybe take from what you said that I found, I mean, a lot of it, obviously all of it was fascinating. But one part that I want to focus on is, I think you said 2 to 8% of the data that we collect is actually being leveraged to do.
In power plants.
Yeah, yeah, that's fascinating. I think that for all us entrepreneurs here, this is maybe the biggest opportunity of them all. This is fascinating. Just a quick question, curiosity. Anyone here ever did what I'm doing, like host a panel? Anyone ever did that? Can I give you, everyone that did that or anyone who's ever going to do that, a piece of advice? Do not open a bottle of a sparkling drink on your lap in the middle of doing that. Bad idea. Bad. Just don't. Just really don't. Okay, so once that's cleared, literally, the next speaker is Daniel Liber from CyberArk. And much like Russ, in the sense of the role he plays in a part of an industry that we're all a part of, CyberArk is a security company. And Daniel is responsible for the security of the products that CyberArk makes. So, you know, like that old saying, like, who's watching the watchers? Well, it's this guy right here. So please help me welcome on stage Daniel Liber from CyberArk.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Daniel Liber, and I work for CyberArk. I've seen there are many technological lectures in this track, and I want more to talk about a better way of your enterprise to create secure technologies. And I want actually to tell you a story about things we do in CyberArk. Just in case that you haven't heard about us, we're not GE. We're not that big. We're not. We practice privileged account security. This means that your administrative account is what we want to protect on, and we want to prevent their abuse. Obviously, we focus on inside threats. In today's world, you cannot really just assume that you can push everybody outside. So even when you have an attacker inside, our goal is to make sure that they don't get the credentials in order to get control of your domain. The thing is that compromised credentials are a big issue, and they're not going just to disappear. Actually, they're a center or the core of most cyber attacks. And this means that this problem is so big that it's just very hard to tackle. So if you think that this thing will just disappear or go away, it's not. And we really try to make things easier and much, much more secure for all the organizations that we work with. A little bit about me. I've already been introduced, but I just want to say that even when you have great technology, what I believe in is that behind that technology you have also great people and great ideas. And the story I want to tell today is how our great people, or how I see collaboration of people making good ideas and making them even better and great technology. So what you should expect from this lecture. First, I think it will be interesting for you because I'm going to bring some use cases from what we've experienced in the past years. And it's always interesting to see things that people go through and what they learn from it. Second thing would be that not all security vendors are very keen on sharing things from the inside. There are some internal operation that nobody wants to disclose, but I think it's valuable to share. This is also one of the reasons I come to talk, to share, to learn from others, and I hope that you also learn from me. And the last thing is also to pump up a bit your creativity, to get some ideas, maybe go back to your vendor or your company, talk to people, get things done, maybe collaborate. Really, it was the last talk was about Internet of Things. So I said, if it's so hyper-connected, you can also be hyper-connected. Just go with other people in your company and talk about it. So the motivation to this talk is actually a story. And this story starts with a task my team was given to have a product security incident response process. This was a couple of years ago. And the motivation to have a specific procedure for this kind of issues is, first of all, these kind of issues are different from regular regular software bugs. So you need to be more sensitive about the information you share also inside and outside. Second thing is that you don't want, the customer to be reached out by regular support because they don't always know how to talk or what to represent outside when you want to handle a severe issue. And the last thing is that you don't want to see your company's name splattered across newspapers on the internet for not having a good SLA, a good response, and maybe being hacked. So this was a big issue for us, and we really wanted to make things happen and to have a really good process. The thing is that the process is quite straightforward. You research for the acceptable, the standards of today. You try to learn from use cases or to see what others do, and then you implement a procedure. And then when you've done this, then great success, right? It's awesome. So obviously, not everything in life is so easy. You always have obstacles, especially in security. For some reason, you always have obstacles. And the first obstacle was that we tried to find a standard, but there was really no standard for product security incident response. There was maybe for network or maybe for enterprise, but it was really something very unique. So we tried to look inside of vendors' policies, and we saw that some of them have and some of them don't have these kind of policies. And even within the policies, they had different let's say, policies. Some talk about SLA, some talk about how they want to be approached, some talked about what is the scope of what you can interrogate. And this was a bit baffling. So we decided maybe to move away from that and try to learn from real use cases and to see if we can maybe use just logics to come up with a procedure. Thing is that learning from reality is not something you can do while you're relaxed. You just need to move with the flow, and things are going to happen anyways, whether you're going to have time or not. So we had to take decisions with incomplete procedure, and mostly we want to learn from others. And we did not want to be on the headlines, but we still looked at them just to make sure that we do not do the same. I don't know if you heard about it, but I want to make sure everybody maybe know this game show. It's called Let's Make a Deal. It's from, I think, like 70s or 60s in the US. It was very popular also in Israel. And you have 3 curtains, and you need to choose one. And behind one, there's a prize. Behind another one, there's nothing, basically. And behind another one, there's a smaller prize. So I want to play this game with you and to give you some real use cases just to see what would you decide as a product security incident response team. And these are real cases, by the way. These are things that happen to us. The first one was the very public disclosure, as I would call it. It's a security expert who decided to publish on social media the fact that he was doing some testing for one of our customers as a freelance. And he found something that was able to make the host completely compromised. So we were trying to figure out what to do. And so I would like to ask you to raise hands according to your answer. Who would address the security expert directly? 1. Okay. Who would talk to the customer? Okay, I see some hands over there. And who would just start a public debate over social media? I see 3 people, and that's going, oh yeah, it's obvious. Okay, so the things we did, the thing we did was to talk to the customer because we are engaged with the customer, not with anyone else. And we tried to understand what was happening. And apparently, the configuration of our product in that customer was not hardened as we recommended. So we managed to solve this directly just with the customer. At the same time, we chose not to reply on social media. One of the reasons was this story. Viber, this was happening around the same time. Viber, for example, published on Twitter the fact that ESET was flagging them as malware. So they decided to tweet about it with the hashtag ESET sucks. Now, this is a bit harsh, I want to say, and it's obviously a bit risky. So ESET decided to tweet back, saying that, sorry, Viber, but you are some kind of malware, and they actually tweeted the reason that Viber was flagged. So this kind of scenario we wanted to avoid, and it was a good call for us. And second thing was the helping consultants. We had a consultant company doing some pen tests for one of our products. And a year or two afterwards, they were doing pen tests for other customers, and they tested it at the customer site at different products, but they used some of the knowledge that they learned from working for us. And then they want to say they found another thing, and they want to disclose it, and they made a big mess about it. So again, would you ignore them? Hands? Who would choose to ignore them? Nobody, okay. Who would involve legal and use the NDA they signed? One, okay. Anyone else? Two. Okay, no NDAs. And who would talk to the consulting company directly? Okay, most of the people, good. So there's a lot of common knowledge here. So you would just talk to the consulting company and convince them it's low severity, which is what we did. We talked to them, we explained them two things. First, that the things that they found were not very severe, and second, that if they're going to do that, they will have very bad reputation in the security community because they would publish things even though they're on the NDA. In any way, I urge you not to ignore. Do not ignore, it will get you these kind of headlines. It's very unpleasant when you just ignore things. This company specifically ignored a researcher that tried to disclose an issue because they were signed with an NDA with the customer where they were not allowed to engage with parties that are not customers regarding security, which is a bit bizarre. Anyways, so we tried to learn from this process and we moved on. And we noticed that it was not only the product security team to engage in incident response procedures. Another issue, which was more in professional services, was that we got a phone call from one of our prospects. And this prospect told us that they were breached. And they asked to come immediately and to help them to mitigate the breach. So we left everything and we decided to just go on the same plane that was at the day. And during the travel, we understood that we were call number 2, and call number 1 was a forensic company on site. So we worked, CyberArk worked there for about 4 weeks nonstop, including sleeping in the office and having people changing each other like back-to-back shifts. And we were replicating the environment in order to get the legal evidence and to make sure that nothing is lost when we went for the forensic company. As well as in the replicated environment, we tried to go domain by domain and change the credentials to contain the attack. We learned from this process that there is a methodology for forensics, and it's very interesting. There are a lot of tools, which I don't have the time to go into. And we also learned how to reassure the customers of what they need, what he needs to do in order to mitigate the attack and how we can help him. That gave us some ideas regarding our products and our services. So we have valuable information, and now we want to provide it through our products, but how can we incorporate it? So let's talk a little bit about detection, because so far our products were mostly about protection, but we want to enhance them. So first example was the hackathon. I hope most of the people here know what a hackathon is. If not, it's an event where you don't sleep much, you eat a lot of pizza and other crap, And you get to develop everything, well, almost everything you want, from new features until things that serve the well-being of the employees. So we decided that one of the ideas would be smart log analysis. This is because when we were in the forensics, with the forensics team back-to-back, we understood that having a better visualization of the logs is something crucial, and correlation between data, instead of just reading a lot of text files or logs, is something that would make a significant impact. So instead of text files, we really made a difference by having a better idea for logs, visualizing the activity in our products. This is like the CPU, which can identify the number of services, and you have some classification of activities. And if you want to track down a user and their activities, you really could go back by actions to see what they did, which was a great idea for us. But we thought that this was really not enough. So we now have a better detection for the activity of our own products. But what if we want to help the customer for their entire environment? What we can do for that? Obviously, protecting credentials is something very important. So what if you don't know you're under attack? And this was a concept for a new product that was launched a few months ago. And we did a dedicated product that targets credentials-related attacks, works in real time, and also it can provide for the security operations center and blue teams some critical information about what's going on with maybe stolen credentials. So for that, I would like to do a short demo of what we did. I like to have some. So this product basically shows you a dashboard of risks that you have in your organization regarding stolen credentials and other attacks that are credentials related. And if an attacker, for example, wants to execute one of the attacks, in this case it's a golden ticket attack using Mimikatz. Mimikatz is a tool with a lot of credentials related attacks, also targeted for Windows. Then you can really see the impact it does. Once the attacker tries to go into a sensitive resource, it fails. But when it attacks and gains access, for example, in here you can see in a few seconds that it's got the golden ticket for the CA admin. And now try to go into the sensitive resource on the domain controller. And it succeeds. So what we expect now is to see that someone tried to execute an attack. And first of all, the severity went from medium to severe. And you have that bubble over there that shows you that you just had an attack and it's severe, it's 100%. And you have the details over there. And this is something that I think very valuable to organizations. Sorry, I'll go back to the presentation. This is something very valuable, and what I want to show here, very shortly, unfortunately, is how the technology is not based only on customer wishes. It's not based only on R&D teams. It's something that in a security vendor goes across the organization. It goes from the product security teams, it goes through professional services, it goes through also R&D, and expertise of all these teams together can help you bring better technology to your customers and to build up your expertise. And this is what I want to talk about today. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Hello. Hi. Okay. Thank you very much, Daniel. I want to highlight just one thing that I think is worth repeating, and that was the statement about how, yes, we should focus on detection, but we shouldn't forget protection. Yeah, that's a very important statement because we keep moving forward and forward, but we need to remember that some of the practices we already have established are good. We shouldn't discard them. Okay.